But let's talk about Athena. The former Ember Moon did an interview with Chris Van Vliet that dropped on his channel this week. It's a little over an hour long. It's really good. And she addressed her final frustrating months in WWE before her release last November. And it was a very revealing look behind the scenes when it comes to the NXT women and the changes following the brand relaunch in September. Credit to Fightful for the transcription, but I want to read you some of the key parts of this, and I'll give you my thoughts on the back end of it here. She said, "My last 4 months was just one of those moments where I wasn't having fun anymore. It started with Shotzi being gone and drafted. I was sitting at home and got a phone call saying, 'Hey, we don't want you to be upset, but Shotzi just got moved to SmackDown and she's debuting with Tegan Nox as a tag team.' I was sitting there getting this phone call about her getting drafted thinking, oh my God, I'm so happy for her. And then the tag team thing popped up and I was like, but we're the tag team and we have merch. They were like, don't worry, we have something for you." And she said, okay, cool. I remember going to Hunter and he was like, I have no clue what's happening. We'll figure it out together. How many times do you think Triple H has said that when a concerned talent has come to him about a call-up or something, they're going to change something about their character or something, goes, I have no idea what's happening. Don't look at me. We're finding out about this together at the same time. I'm sure he's had that conversation many times with lots of talents. Bayley had gotten injured. I know Shotzi and Tegan were doing dark matches for a tryout anyway. The problem I had was that some of these new writers were coming from Raw and SmackDown telling me we had no idea that you and Shotzi were a tag team. A lot of WWE Backstage is having to play the game. It's cool, we get it, we're down in NXT. It's not like we were front page of the website when we won the titles or anything. That's fine. You're just having to eat the shit sandwich and smile with shit in your teeth a lot of times. It's all about not making waves. After Shotzi was moved to the main roster, Ember said that she came up with a storyline for herself that could also help some of the younger talent. She said, me, Hunter, and the head writer at the time had come up with doing a heel turn with me because it was new and different. During this process, we wanted to do a losing streak. That was my thought. Let me do the losing streak. I see the new faces coming through, and part of my job at NXT was to help the new talent on TV, which I get. I love this business so much that I didn't mind. Let me do the losing streak, let me get frustrated, and let me turn. They said, this is a great idea. We have ABCD, we'll do your first feud with this person. Then the first match happened, and I'm off TV for 4 weeks. Don't worry, we got this. Then Hunter disappeared. I was supposed to do a match with Saray and ended up getting a rash on my arm. I had an allergic reaction to something, and they thought it was something else, so they pulled me from the match. Okay, fine, we'll do the match next week. 3 weeks later, we're going to do this match. That match gets pulled from TV, and one of the head coaches goes, will you do me a favor and work 205 Live with Cora Jade? We like her, she's a sweet girl, we think this will be a fun match. You two are in the main event. Cool, that sounds great. I'm never going to say no to having a match on TV, regardless of where it's airing. We have a fun banger of a match. They go, you're turning in this match, but we want to make it subtle. So they kind of turn me, but they don't. There was confusion about what would happen. Then I'm off TV for 3 weeks. I have the match with Mandy Rose, and they're like, we're finally pulling the trigger on this. I get a note that week saying, in 2 weeks, we need you to dye your hair the fire color again, get the red contacts. You're going back to the old Ember Moon character. This is straight from Vince. You're going to turn heel, but turn heel as your old character. We're trying to get the old music and stuff together. All right, this is great. I show up to TV, I'm motivated, just had to wait it out. Ryan Katz and I went and filmed a demo of the vibe that I wanted. We come back, I get the video ready, I'm ready to show everybody on TV, and they're like, hey, we got some bad news. Vince is pulling you off TV indefinitely. And this is where she started getting emotional during the interview when you watch it. She said, I just sat there and was like, what did I do wrong? I've done everything you guys have asked me. I've gone over and above. When they put me and Shotzi in a tag team, everybody knows I'm not a tag team person. I hate tag teams. There's too many moving parts. It's not that I hate tag team wrestling. It just requires so much more to give as opposed to just relying on yourself. Now you have to rely on 3 other people. I feel me and Shotzi capitalized on it. We were so motivated to build that division, and then we weren't able to. When you care about something, not just for yourself, but for everybody involved, it hurts so much more because for so many years, I've not been about myself. I've been for the match and for other people. To be told that I've done nothing wrong, and I was taken off TV for doing nothing wrong, it hurts so bad because I was so happy walking into work. I remember when Shotzi left, I remember going to my makeup artist and saying, I'm so unhappy. We would have to sit through stupid meetings about how we would have to dress sexy. I cater to children. I'm not about to wear fishnet booty butt cheek shorts because we had a 2-hour meeting about how to dress like Mandy Rose. That's not fair. Mandy is absolutely phenomenal and an amazing person, but not everybody is Mandy Rose. I started seeing this downslope as soon as Hunter was gone. I got so angry, sitting there thinking I did nothing wrong. I didn't piss off Vince. They took Shotzi away. Hunter is gone. You guys promised me this wouldn't happen. You promised I wouldn't be lost in the shuffle. I went on this losing streak to help you out and build other talent so I could get a reward. They're like, not everything is lost, Ember. We still want you to come and help the next generation, maybe teach a class. And I'm like, you're taking me off TV and trying to make me a coach? If I've done nothing wrong, you can cancel all my flights. I'm not coming to help these people who don't care about what I do. They only care about the paycheck that hits their bank account. They're not passionate like me. I'm not going to come up here and help these people that don't care about what we do when there's no benefit in it for me when I've done nothing wrong. And I've given you my entire right side of my body between my elbow surgery and my Achilles. I've given you this entire side of my body for no reward. You want to take me off TV to coach? I was supposed to come to NXT for a repackaging and then go back to the main roster. That was supposed to be within the year, and I'm still here. You took Shotzi away from me. I have nothing to go off of. I'm going home. Cancel all my flights. Cancel all my hotels. If you have a flight but no creative for me, I'm not getting on. I'm not doing this anymore because I'm going to snap. I'm going to go home. If you need me, I'll be there. Even then, I need to approve the creative before I hop on the flight. She said it's the first time that she ever pulled that card. And then in the last little bit here, she said, I think I just quit. For 3 months, I had been saying, I think I'm going to quit today. And then I actually did, I think. And she again mentioned the meetings. She could see what was going on with the booty butt cheek meeting and then telling the girls to alter their gear to make it more revealing. Some people were very uncomfortable with that and they were like, nope, this is what they want. You have to do it. It didn't matter how that person felt. This isn't what I signed up for anymore. This isn't about the wrestling or the art that we create in the ring. This is turning into everything I left on Raw and SmackDown. The pity party started forming in the locker rooms, the jealousy, the cattiness. Why is this person on TV? I'm just sitting there like, I'm an adult. I can't deal with this high school bullshit. You hear those comments, and if all you do is read the transcript or you hear me, talking about what she said here secondhand, you're going to have, and I already see it on social media, you're going to have people who say, oh, she's just being bitter. Oh my God, how bitter Ember Moon is. She's just bitter that she got fired. She's just bitter they decided to push other women ahead of her. She's bitter that plans change and she didn't get what she wanted and she's whining and complaining. I urge you, watch the interview for yourself, even if only the part where she talks about this. And that's not the entire interview. She only got into this because Chris asked her a question. And she said, oh, okay, well, I guess we're going to get into this now. And it was about 15 minutes of her talking about this out of an hour and 15-minute interview. I urge you, watch the interview for yourself. Hear her tell it in her own voice. She spent most of it wiping away tears and snot. You could tell that it still bothers her, not out of bitterness, but because she was constantly lied to and fucked around. You'd be angry too if that were you. And shit like that happens all the time, not just in WWE, not just in wrestling, but just in life. In the corporate world. I'm not saying this is something that is exclusive only to WWE. But boy, it sure seems to happen there quite a bit. You'd be angry too if you were in her shoes. It's maddening to listen to. And it's not surprising to me that the main roster writers pay no attention to NXT storylines, so a lot of what happens there gets totally disregarded once they get called up. She didn't even get into how she got hurt. She mentioned the Achilles. She didn't even get into how she got hurt when she ruptured her Achilles, which was a terrible injury. Kept her out for over a year. She thought her career might be over. It was a very bad rupture. Single-handedly knocked her off the main roster. She went back to NXT when she came back. She never did make it back to Raw or SmackDown. She didn't tell the story. How did it happen? It happened doing a chase for the 24/7 title. Her career almost ended chasing after the 24/7 joke belt. She wasn't even supposed to be working that night. She had worked a Raw match the night before. They called her and said, look, we need you to work the next night. And that's what they had her doing. A foot race. With the usual brigade of losers on TV, chasing after the ugly green belt. You could see where the wheels began to fall off when Triple H disappeared. The stuff about the talent meetings, telling the women to dress sexier after the 2.0, relaunch, it's not surprising to anybody who watches the show now. The whole show is just built on sex appeal. They're trying to appeal to a younger audience and think, well, we'll attract an audience just by making it raunchier. That'll solve everything. Fightful learned of the meetings months ago, but could not get anybody to confirm them at the time. They were scheduled under the guise of fashion consulting. They brought in a consultant named Melanie Pace to conduct the meetings. Several talents were said to be upset that these meetings happened, and they blamed them on John Laurinaitis. But Fightful has not been able to confirm if he had anything to do with it. One talent said they were encouraged to dress that way backstage also, not just on TV. And although dress sexier wasn't outright said, they said that it was implied. That's kind of like years ago when the steroid stuff was running rampant in WWE and there was the steroid trial. And there were people who were asked, were you specifically told to take steroids? Were you specifically told to get on the gas? And a lot of people said, well, no, it wasn't necessarily articulated to me verbatim like that, but it was kind of implied that, you got to get bigger. Or it'll help your career if you get bigger. I've heard Jim Ross even back then, when he was in the company, talk about this guy he's got to bulk up. He needs more size. People can take that any number of ways. There are times where things are said without being said. It sounds like that's what happened here too. Numerous women refuse to go to the meetings at all. There's nothing wrong with the women dressing that way, dressing sexier if they want to, and especially if it fits their character on TV. Toxic Attraction has been one of the most pushed acts since the 2.0 relaunch. And it really, it's given Mandy Rose the biggest run of her entire career so far. And she plays the part perfectly in terms of how she presents herself and all the members of Toxic Attraction. That's kind of what they do. They dress sexy, and that's kind of the whole gimmick. So for some people it works, but it's not necessarily meant for everybody. If it works for your character on TV, then hey, go for it. But to be told, well, you've got to dress a certain way and be more revealing whether you want to or not, tough shit, this is what you have to do. And then they're dressing it up as fashion consulting. Coming from the same people who gave you the women's revolution that they love to talk about so much. It's such a huge marketing tool for the women's revolution in WWE. You can see the hypocrisy there. All these women that are there now or that are coming in, right? They see Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks and Bayley and Becky Lynch. They didn't come into the company as plastic Barbie dolls. They came in there along with Asuka and others, and they ushered in this era of women's wrestling that was different than any other in the history of that company. All under Triple H's watch. There are women who saw that and said, that's what I want to do. I want to be like that. I didn't think wrestling was for someone like me because, and we heard even some of those women say that, they grew up watching Trish Stratus and other women of that era who were pushed because of how they looked And Trish turned into a hell of a wrestler. But that was a very different time in WWE. The Attitude Era, the Post-Attitude Era. It was kind of the Wild West there for a while. Yeah, hell, young Solomonster when I'm in my teens watching that shit. I love it. It's great, right? That's the audience they were appealing to. It was just a very different time. But there were a lot of women who saw that who probably were like, I don't look like that. I can't do this. And maybe they decided to go do something else with their lives. But then when they started to see some of these other women being pushed because they were actually able to work, all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, it kind of opens up the door maybe for me to come in and do that. Even though I don't, look a certain way, I can do that. So you have all these women who wanted to come in and train and go to the PC because they thought that that's what they could do. They sign up for what they think is their dream job. Triple H then gets taken out of the picture. All of a sudden, you have Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard and John Laurinaitis. And we'll throw Kevin Dunn in there too while we're at it, the sick fuck. The GQ cover models that they all are. Reverting back to the good old diva days. Some revolution, huh? Ember sounded very open to going to AEW when she was asked about it, but said it's not her call to make. And Tony Khan has brought in Ruby Soho, and Tony Storm has not featured them much recently outside of the Owen Hart qualifiers. Ruby spends most of her time now on Dark Elevation on YouTube. But she did debut in the Casino Battle Royal at All Out, which she won. She wrestled Britt Baker for the women's title at Arthur Ashe Stadium. She made it all the way to the finals of the TBS title tournament against Jade Cargill before she lost. So I don't think it's entirely fair to say they've done nothing with her. That's not true, but she hasn't wrestled a match on Dynamite since the beginning of February. Today's May 1st. Athena going to AEW doesn't automatically mean that she'll be back on television every week, but it would give her the chance to be on TV, again with a major promotion. And she is very good. In WWE, her best work came during her first run with NXT, not her main roster run. If you want a couple of matches to go watch, go check out her TakeOver Brooklyn match with Asuka. I forget which Brooklyn show it was. Or the match that she had with Shayna Baszler when she lost the title before she got called up. But I thought she came across very likable during the interview, not bitter at all, even though you read those comments and you would think it's all negative, all bitter. Again, I urge you to take the time to go watch it yourself with your own eyes. She came across to me as somebody who has just been waiting a long time to vent and get a lot off her chest that she's been holding in for quite some time. But I thought it was a very good interview and very insightful.